They're up, they're down, they're in, they're out. And football fans and bettors want to know why. Eagles, why? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Why Eagles Why, your weekly dissection of the up and down Philadelphia Eagles. I'm Dave Bontempo, along with my buddies, Bill Gelman and Pete Amato. We break down this team, and there's a lot to say. The show is broken up into 4 quarters, so please hit like and subscribe and hit that bell notification for future videos. Well, as we break the huddle, Bill, Pete, and I were having a text fest in the middle of the Eagles-Carolina game. Before they went to 2-3, it looked like they would be 1-4. Pete, the Eagles stole a victory. Did it feel like a win, or did you say,
I know the Eagles won, but they were extremely lucky. This win really left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, it's weird to say this, but I actually feel more worried about this team after this win. For one thing, you have Sam Darnold, basically, who gave the game away. He turned into Sam Darnold of old, right? He's turned into the Jet Sam Darnold. But that aside, the coaching staff just seemed totally clueless this whole game, totally clueless. We won despite our offensive play calling, for one thing. And our defense played good. Our defense stepped up when we needed them. But the game plan basically that they created were taking our top playmakers out of the game. Dallas Goedert he didn't see the field on any crucial third downs at all that game. I don't understand what Nick Siriani is doing there. Like, I love Ertz. I love Ertz, but Goddard is your guy now. He's obviously a more of a threat as an offensive threat than Ertz at this point in his career, and they just don't use them when they should. Also, why aren't we using Miles Sanders in actual run plays? Obviously, this RPO, we get him RPOs, but like Nick Siriani, an RPO is not a run play, it's an RPO. So, I mean, you have 30 pass plays and to 5 run plays in the first half. It's just not how you're going to win games. It's not how you're going to win games in the long run. And yes, we got to win, but I'm looking at down the road, and I'm more worried than ever.
All right, well, excellent teams do have great tight ends most of the time, and they have something else, Bill Gelman, a running game. You didn't see much of that.
No, you didn't. I mean, I had to look at the box score for this game because there was, as Pete said, then they didn't deserve to win this game. I mean, it was they played horrible for the first, pretty much until late in the fourth quarter. Their offense was like non-existent while their defense was carrying the slack. I mean, they had 22 rushing attempts as a team. Half of them went to Jalen Hurts. And Chuba Hubbard, who's a backup running back for the Carolina Panthers, actually had more rushing attempts, 24, and over 100 rushing yards. The Eagles barely got over 90 rushing yards for the game. That has a 2-tier effect because it also, by running the ball more, you're eating up more of the clock. There was a big differential in time of possession in this game. I just don't get what this offense, they seem to have a lot of young talent, but the coaching staff doesn't seem to know how to coach them and how to make the best use of this team. There's like, I'm scratching my head every week trying to figure out what they're thinking on the sidelines when the actual clock on the game is ticking every week.
Chuba Hubbard, as we talked about in Play NJ and NJ gambling sites, would not have been in had Christian McCaffrey been able to go. Without Christian McCaffrey, they still had a lot of carries from Hubbard. Now, what about the Gelman's goal? How does this play into what you were seeing, Bill?
I wanted to go with the number 14 this week. Number 14, because I don't think the Eagles coaching staff realize they have this 5'8", 200-pound running back. Well, excuse me, 5'9", 200-pound running back, rookie from University of Memphis, Kenneth Gainwell. He happens to be number 14. You guys might want to make a note of it when you're game planning going forward here. He had 2 carries this week. He's
14?
averaging 4.8 yards per game when he actually gets used. So
14 had 2, huh? 14 had 2. He had scored a touchdown out of the backfield.
Carries for the whole game. One of them was, when they were pretty much locking up the game to, because Miles Sanders, I don't know why he ran out of bounds twice late in the fourth quarter when the Eagles, all they had to do was run out the clock. So then Kenneth Gainwell came in. He got a big pickup and game was over. But it's like I can't figure him out.
One question going forward to end the first quarter, Pete, is the Eagles' ground game, is the blocking good enough, do you feel, to get these guys more involved in classic straight running plays?
I don't know if we even know that. I mean, they haven't even been given the chance, really. I think their ground game, their offensive line when healthy, obviously, yes. You still have one of the best centers in the league kind of leading the way, but we don't really know that. And I do give them credit for the win. The team showed a lot of guts. But I feel, in my opinion, the players and coaches have to look at this game and learn from this game as if it was a loss. There was tons of mistakes. Once again, dumb mistakes by the players, and the coaching play calling was god awful. So I think that's what they have to look at it as a loss moving forward.
Maybe even Goddard awful because they didn't involve their tight end.
Right.
But the Eagles end up stealing one. They're 2-3 after the victory over Carolina. That's the end of our first quarter. It's Why Eagles Why, second quarter. Dave Bontempo, Pete Amato, and Bill Gelman with you. And Pete Hustleton got a special interview with Eagles great Brian Westbrook on a special edition of Why Eagles Why. And Brian said something pretty interesting about this young, unpredictable Eagles team.
Yeah, so talking about the Eagles, I want to get into a little about how they are in their current state this season. So overall, how do you think they performed? We're 4 weeks in. How do you think they look right now?
Well, to me, they look like a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And coming into the season, I thought they were going to be a work in progress. You got a first-time head coach who was young, a bunch of young assistant coaches. You got a first-time starter as far as a season starter at quarterback, a young quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And when you look at the pieces around him, young guys all around him. And so because of that, I thought it was going to be a season where we see some ups and downs. We see some great games, Atlanta. Then we see some not so good games, Dallas, San Fran, and of course, the Chiefs, just because you didn't get the win. But within those games, you saw some pieces begin to work. You saw some things that began to work. And so for me, the season is basically going exactly how I expect it to go. You just always want to get wins. And unfortunately, I think this year would be a learning time for this football team.
Pete, you got a lot out of Brian Westbrook. What was your overall impression about what he said?
Yeah, it was a great interview. Brian's a great guy. He actually made the interview pretty easy. He's smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's been there before. That's why I asked him if he was getting into coaching, if you watch the whole interview, because he's a smart guy. And if anybody wants to see the full interview, I'll put a link to it below. But as far as the clip we just watched, I totally agree with him. It's a young team, and you're going to see this back and forth Jekyll Hyde type team the whole season, maybe because they're so young and they don't know what they do well yet. So you're going to see some things that they do well certain games, and you're going to see them not do so well in other games, and they're still figuring it out. So you got to give them a little bit of a break on that sense, but that also kind of falls on the hiring. I mean, yes, you got a young head coach, and that's fine. but maybe they should have hired veteran coordinators to kind of even that out, and they didn't. And that was a big deal in the preseason when they hired Nick Siriani and then hired two really young coordinators as well, which usually you hire veteran coordinators to kind of back up a young head coach, and they didn't do that. They kind of did their own thing, and it's biting them in the butt right now.
All right. So in that interview, he talked about a lot of different things, and he hit the Carolina game on the head because the Eagles are out of that game. They get the big pass to Quez Watkins, changes everything.
Yep.
They block a punt. They take it in. They change everything. They get a victory. But, Bill, you've got concerns about the balance of how this offense looks.
Yeah, I know. I already touched on the running game, so I'm not going to retouch on that, but that is a big part of it. And also, like Pete just said, you have a very young team here. And the only way a young team grows is if they got to get this chemistry going. At this point in the season, there should be a little more chemistry. I know their offensive line right now is sort of very young with patchwork. Lane Johnson, we don't know if he's going to be coming back. He's dealing with some personal matters off the field. Lost a couple other guys to injury. And, it's like, again, against Carolina, out of all the wide receivers, Devontae Smith was the only one he had 7 catches for over 100 yards. He didn't have any touchdowns. The other starting wide receivers, none of them had more than 3 catches. Yes, Quez Watkins came out in the clutch. I think he's going to be the steal of his draft class because I think he's got speed, he's got talent. He just needs to get in sync with Jalen Hurts, and they need to build an offense where all 3 of these wide receivers get involved. You got to use the tight end more. I just think the offense needs to be more game prepared because I just haven't seen it yet. They go in spurts. You can't start a game, turn on the offensive jets like with 8 minutes to go in the game. It's like you can't rely on the defense, special teams to carry you through the game. Every component of the team needs to be in sync throughout the game.
Yeah, exactly. And what you said there, preparation. It seemed like they weren't prepared at all. They weren't prepared the game plan for this game. We watched last week the Dallas Cowboy run game absolutely destroy Carolina. And what did we do? We had 5 running plays in the first half. Like, it just seemed like they watched a different Carolina team before this game. Like, they just seemed prepared for something totally different than we actually did. And that could be because they're young, but they need to move forward now and learn from this bad game. I mean, if you want to call it, yeah, we got the win, but it wasn't a very good game on the offensive side. They just need to learn from it. They're young. They're going to get an excuse. I mean, that's okay. They're young, but as long as they learn from it, then we can move forward and maybe get a little better in each aspect.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it on the head there, Pete. I think the theme of this season is learning. I think this is a 2 to 3 year process with this team. I don't think we should have any high expectations, such as NFC East playoffs, anything like that this year. I think if it happens, it'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
So when they walked off the field, they said we won, and someone said we did, but they are 2-3, and it's halftime on Why Eagles Why. Why Eagles Why third quarter. Well, the NFC East, for some teams, it's a hospital ward, like the New York Giants. Well, Mama said there'd be days like this. They lost so many of their key players in a loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Major players are out so much so that the Giants are the biggest underdog in the NFL at home in week 6. And Bill, how do you lose all those players and then come out like they have to against the Rams?
I don't think there's a way to recover because you're talking about 3 key offensive players for an offense that was already down 2 wide receivers. Daniel Jones got hit so hard in the head. It's like he was, just woke up from the middle of the night. they actually had to bring out a cart to get him off the field. I don't see him playing for a couple of weeks. Saquon Barkley turned his ankle, had his ankle stepped on, or was so ankle sprains. They could last weeks. You never know with them.
Right.
And then you have the rookie Tony, who's was showing some promise this week, and he's likely going to be out. So my question is, who are they throwing the ball to? Who's running the ball? Do they even score a point? Because the Rams offense is one of the best in the league. I mean, you fall behind that team, you're never going to catch up. And it's concerning. I feel, I don't root for the Giants, but you got to feel for them because they're going through a really rough time. And you're talking about 5 weeks into the season already. And they have all these injuries.
However, for bettors, we did outline a couple of betting options on that game at Play NJ or NJ gambling sites, wherever that story goes up. Take a look at that for the Giants.
Play NJ.
Play NJ. Okay, so take a look for that. Hey, Pete, I want to talk to you about another team, the Swiss cheese defense of the Washington football team. This was the pride and joy of this team last year. They made the playoffs, and in one game, their defense had 2 touchdowns and their offense didn't score, but they won that game. Last week, they gave up a 72-yard touchdown pass to the New Orleans Saints and a Hail Mary at the end of the half where they didn't even try to get the ball. And all of a sudden, it's great for the overs bettors, and they're giving evidence that the Eagles might be the second best team in the NFC East.
Yeah, it's baffling to see, because if you could think one good thing about the Redskins coming into this year, it was their defense. I don't know if they were all on contract years last year. I don't know what's really wrong with them. It seems like they have the same game plan. It just seems like you said, it looks like they're not trying. And that's good for the Eagles, that because you have the Giants, who are injured, and you have the Washington, who was one thing that we were worried about was their defense, and that's nowhere to be found. So maybe the Eagles do sneak up a little bit and could make things happen possibly.
Well, and the class of the NFC East has been the Dallas Cowboys. They have interesting scheduling quirks, like 3 games in a row, and they dumped on 3 straight teams, though they'll go to New England this week. But, Bill, when you look at the symbol of the Dallas Cowboys, it's the offensive line, and it's the guy who came back and has looked like himself this year.
Yeah, Dak is back, and he's just – there seems to be no stopping him. I mean, it's an Ezekiel Elliott. I thought there were times this season I didn't know if he still had it. He's stepping it up. I mean, I don't know if it's the rest of the NFC East is just so bad, or the Cowboys are that good, but they have a lot of talent. They are the marquee team of this division. I don't think at the current moment, I don't think any team in this division is going to have a prayer against Dallas this season. Dallas is just too deep, too talented when compared to the other teams. And, who knows, maybe when the Eagles and Cowboys play each other the last game of the regular season, it may have some meaning. I truly doubt it will, but it's, there's certain teams that are pulling away right now that say these are teams to watch this season, and Dallas is one of them.
Yeah, their draft last year was good with C.D. Lamb, and this year they stepped up their defensive presence, which was very good for them. We come to the end of the third quarter of Why Eagles Why, and we preview the Eagles and Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the fourth quarter. Why Eagles Why? It's the fourth quarter. Special notice for the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a game on Thursday night. And it's not just any game. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Prime time, defending Super Bowl champions. Pete, do they have a chance?
No. No chance. I mean, it sucks. I mean, it's going to be a fun game to watch. It's prime time, but I don't think they have a chance. I mean, I think they would if we were playing. Obviously, we're playing a high-powered offense, greatest quarterback of all time. But not only is this a high-powered offense with a lot of weapons and an amazing quarterback, their defense. I mean, they have probably top 6, 7, 8 defense in the league right now. So that's what's going to kill them, because usually in a game like this, if you're playing somebody with a high-powered offense, and you can kind of match them score for score and see what happens, and anything can happen at the end of the game. But they're not going to be able to match them score for score because their Eagles offense has looked really bad against defenses that are above average. So I don't think they have a chance at this. I can't see it. I see Tampa Bay scoring when they want to, and then the Eagles not scoring when they want to. So I feel like the Tampa Bay defense is just going to stop the Eagles too many times, and Tampa Bay offense is what they are. Everybody knows how Tom Brady plays.
Hey, Tampa Bay had 558 yards of offense last week. Why worry? Bill, what do you think about this, though? If it looks like a fait accompli that the Eagles cannot beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, how about from a betting perspective? What can the gamblers look at?
I mean, this is, how sometimes there's a game where bettors sit at a table and say, yeah, let's stay away from that game. This is, if you're looking at the money line, the point spread, it's just not appealing not because of the points. It's more so you don't know what time of the game the Eagles are going to show up. I don't know if they're going to wake up in the fourth quarter, they're going to get off to a quick start, but then fall apart. Against Kansas City, they were trading. Kansas City was getting touchdowns, but they were getting field goals. And the Tampa Bay, as Pete said, has a better offense. But this is, you're talking about Tom Brady, who's drinking from the fountain of youth. He threw for 5 touchdowns last weekend. You're not going to stop him. You can't put all the defense. Yes, they stepped up last week, but this is a much better team they're going up against. You're not going to be able to, if the offense falters, you're not going to be able to play catch up with this one. And so maybe total points. If you're looking at the line when we're recording today, it ranges from 51 to and a half to 52 and a half. Tampa Bay could put them that many points up themselves. They're averaging over 30 points a game, and Eagles, have known to make a lot of mistakes. Penalties. Maybe they commit a lot of penalties because they fall too far behind. If you want to get creative, maybe look at some props, maybe tease the line. It's just like you don't know how to read this line because they're getting anywhere from the highest I've seen is 7.5 at PointsBet as of today, and I don't even know if that's enough points because the Eagles have shown us they can't really step up. You can't. Carolina gave the game away last week. Let's be frank. It wasn't that the Eagles. Yes, the Eagles made some nice plays, but then that strategy this week and not using the running game, which we've touched on earlier in the show, it's not going to work against Tampa Bay. I see this game being a potential of being the biggest blowout of the season. I'm not saying it's going to be, but the potential is there that it can be another big blowout. And Eagles fans will be frustrated again on Friday morning. They won't have to wait to play Monday morning quarterback this week.
It always reminds me of the classic stories before gambling when you look at the line 6.5, 7, 7.5. People used to have to get up and drive around Las Vegas to find a half a point somewhere across town, and they would book shop. Now they just go on their apps with the different sports books, and they can do all that research in this beautiful age that we're in. Now, how about the prime time aspect? The Eagles did not pass the test against the Dallas Cowboys. Pete, what about the Eagles in prime time, the national game on Thursday night?
I mean, like we said before, they're a young team, and the lights may be too bright for them. We've seen it when they played the Cowboys. I mean, that just could be because the Cowboys are that much better, but Tampa Bay's better than the Cowboys. So I don't know if it's really going to matter. They're home. Our home crowd is great. Our fans are awesome, and their fans are going to get on Tom Brady and Tampa Bay Buccaneers early before he starts kind of destroying us. But the only way I think we have a chance to win it if we keep Tom Brady off the field, and that means we're going to run the ball. And unless Nick Siriani throws out his entire game plan that he's had the first 5 weeks, that's not going to happen.
I believe that we started this show talking about that, and it will be the theme going into the game
Very
as we
frustrating.
come to the end of the fourth quarter and await overtime. A look around the league, our favorite games. Why, Eagles, why? It's overtime, and today it's parting shots. I like to look at the Chargers and Baltimore Ravens, two phenomenal finishes to their games. The Chargers beating the Cleveland Browns in the final seconds, 89 points, and the Ravens stealing one Monday night against the Indianapolis Colts. Great game to watch as the Chargers come east. Well, the drum roll for our picks meister. Pete is 5-0. So what is Pete's picks coming into week 6, Pete?
I like the Bengals over the Lions. The Bengals are giving 3 points. Joe Burrow seems to be all right. Looks like he was released from the hospital last night, and they said everything's fine. So definitely if he starts, that 3 points may go up a little bit. So probably going to jump on that soon. So, yeah, Bengals minus 3 points at the Lions.
No pressure, but Pete is on a roll. How about you, Bill? Parting shots.
Well, I think a lot of people saw that Sunday night game, even with the thunderstorm delay. Kansas City, Buffalo, the creme de la creme of the AFC. And Buffalo looked like they were manhandling them. They won the game 38-20. They are have the biggest point differential offensively in the league so far this year. And, go figure, 5 weeks into the season, the Chiefs are 2-3, last in the AFC West. LA Chargers are first. The Bills are 5-1. I don't see anyone in the AFC East even being able to have a chance against them. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out at the end of the season. Are the Bills the new team to be in the AFC? Because Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if you just had an off week. They should win this week. They're going to Washington. They're 7-point road favorite, and it's it's sort of like the Eagles. It's a wake up call for them because they've lost 3 of their last 4. And the Bills are playing Tennessee on Monday night, and so they're still that looks like a winnable game for them, and it's be interesting to see how it plays out. But we're starting to see, which teams are the teams to watch at this point, which teams are the pretty much are going to be playing for a top draft pick next year.
All right, so the Bills will end the week. The Eagles begin the week against the Tampa Bay Bucs, and when they wake up after the action, will Eagle fans say, you surprised us? Or will they say, why? Eagles, why? For Bill Gilman and Pete Amato, this is Dave Bontempo saying thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.